Love handles. That doesn't sound like something a guy who works out wants to have. The crazy thing is, most guys forget they even have them because it isn't something that they can see when they're facing the mirror. But as soon as you catch the right angle in the mirror or take a back picture, it's obvious they have love handles hanging over the backside of their belt. This video will get into the 3 best science-based strategies to lose lower back fat for good. You'll see that it's not only doable, but more manageable than you may think if you've been struggling to lose that fat for a long time. We'll break down the reasons why that could be and how to fix it. Let's get started. Number 1. Do more cardio. Now, you probably thought we were going to start with diet, and we'll get into that later. But a big reason many of you are not getting leaner is that you're not moving enough. This 2012 study compares resistance training, aerobic training, and the combination of resistance training and aerobic training on fat loss. While this study was done on overweight individuals, it still gives us valuable insight on the topic. The exercise groups were as follows. The resistance training group exercised 3 days per week and performed 3 sets per day of 8 to 12 repetitions. The list targeted all major muscle groups. The weight lifted was increased by 5 pounds each time the participant performed 12 repetitions with proper form on all 3 sets during 2 consecutive workout sessions. We'll consider this a low-volume, high-frequency style of training with some progressive overload. The aerobic training group was burning the caloric equivalent to about 12 miles per week at 65 to 80% of their VO2 max. This is a decent cardio target of total distance and level of intensity for most people. The exercise modes include the treadmill, elliptical trainers, and cycle ergometers for the aerobic exercises. The group doing aerobic training plus resistance training burned the caloric equivalent to about 12 miles per week at 65 to 80% of their VO2 max, plus resistance training of 3 days per week, 3 sets per day, and 8 to 12 repetitions per set. Body weight and fat mass significantly decreased in aerobic training in the aerobic and resistance training groups, but not in the resistance training group. This suggests that aerobic exercise is more effective in changing fat measures in the body. While a lifter can lose fat by dieting correctly in resistance training only, it's harder than most people. Your diet has to be on point. Now, we're not saying you should do a bunch of cardio and stop weight training. The message here is to get moving a lot more than you are now if you aren't living an active lifestyle. Lifting weights with 2 to 3 minutes of rest between each set isn't much aerobic activity. So start doing cardio in your routine. Here's a way to program more cardio into your routine. Monday, lift. Tuesday, lift. Wednesday, cardio. Thursday, lift. Friday, cardio. Saturday, lift. Sunday, rest. Some of you may not be doing cardio because you think it'll kill your gains, which is understandable. This 2012 meta-analysis found that cardio had a negative impact on resistance training adaptations, but the saying the devil is in the details definitely applies here. The questions we need to ask are: what kind of cardio affects gains? What length of cardio? What types of cardio? How significant are the decrements? This meta-analysis found resistance training done with running but not cycling resulted in significant decrements in both hypertrophy and strength. This particular study shows that a specific type of cardio, such as higher impact cardio like running, may have a more negative effect than cycling. Another essential thing to consider is the duration of the cardio. Long-distance runners are typically skinny because their body is adapted to exerting a small amount of power for long periods. It is the opposite for muscular sprinters who exert high amounts of power for a short period. Does this mean that a 30-minute cardio session will kill your gains? The answer again is no. Endurance athletes are running for 2, 3 and even 4 hours at a time. A 30-minute cardio session or 10 minutes of high-intensity interval training doesn't have the same negative effect. There are 3 types of cardio. Most lifters use high-intensity interval training, moderate interval training and steady-state cardio, typically done at a low to moderate pace. The reason interval training has gained popularity in recent years is that it produced similar benefits to steady-state cardio in less time. But there's a catch. This 2015 study compared the effects of two high-intensity interval training protocols for steady-state training on aerobic and anaerobic capacity during 8 weeks of training. 55 untrained college-age subjects were randomly assigned to 3 training groups 3 times per week. 19 of the subjects were assigned to the steady-state exercise group, who cycled for 20 minutes at 90% of the ventilatory threshold. 21 subjects were assigned to the high-intensity Tabata group, who completed 8 intervals of 20 seconds at 170% of their VO2 max with 10 seconds of rest. 15 subjects were assigned to the moderate interval group, who completed 13 sets of 30 seconds for 20 minutes at 100% PVO2 max with 60 seconds of recovery. Each subject did 24 training sessions during 8 weeks. The results showed that all groups improved their conditioning, but there were no significant differences between groups. If we look at the training protocols in further detail, we see the high-intensity group was able to finish a lot faster. 8 20-second intervals with 10 seconds rest may only take around 5 minutes to complete, while the steady-state training group lasted about 20 minutes. Now back to the catch we mentioned earlier for high-intensity interval training. The HIIT group reported the training protocol was less enjoyable than steady-state or mild interval training. Remember, HIIT is very taxing and demanding, so don't feel you have to do it all the time. If you're ever in a position where you have to combine lifting and cardio, do your cardio after you lift. Here's why Ben Spohr and colleagues did this 2003 study to determine if aerobic training affects performance in the following strength training sessions after varying recovery periods. 16 male subjects participated in the study and were divided into 2 groups based on aerobic training, high-intensity intervals and continuous submaximal. Each subject performed 4 sets of both bench press and leg press at approximately 75% of their 1 rep max following aerobic training with recovery periods of 4/8 and 24 hours and once in a controlled condition. Both the 4 and 8-hour conditions resulted in fewer total leg press repetitions than the control and 24-hour conditions. It was concluded that when aerobic training precedes strength training, the volume of work that can be performed is diminished for up to 8 hours. The takeaway is that cardio before your lifting can reduce your lifting performance. This is why you want to perform cardio after your weight training is complete at the end of the day. Decide on which type of cardio is going to work with your schedule and lifestyle. Number 2. Get your diet in check. You knew this was coming, but we're going to tackle this a little differently. You've probably heard all the mainstream advice and different dieting strategies like keto, intermittent fasting, and carb backloading. But here's the thing. Any diet can work if you maintain a caloric deficit. This study randomly assigned 811 adults to one of 4 diets. The percentage of calories derived from fat, protein, and carbohydrates in the 4 diets were as follows: 20% protein, 15% fat, and 65% carbs. 20% protein, 25% fat, and 55% carbs. 40% protein, 15% fat, and 45% carbs. 40% protein, 25% fats, and 35% carbs. What the researchers found was that reduced calorie diets resulted in meaningful weight loss, regardless of which macronutrients they emphasize. So whether you want to keep fats down and eat more carbs or reduce carbs and eat more fats, it really doesn't matter. One major point to keep in mind, since we want to continue to build muscle as we reduce calories, is to keep our protein intake high. Protein has 2 key benefits as it relates to fat loss. First, studies have shown that high protein meals and foods are more satiating than high carbohydrate or high fat meals when assessed by subjective satiety ratings. In other words, protein makes you feel fuller, which is essential when you're reducing calories to get lean. Second, several longer-term studies have noted improvements in body composition on a higher protein pattern despite similar weight loss. Your body composition will be better even if you lose an equivalent amount of weight. In other words, you'll keep more muscle and lose more fat when increasing your protein intake. Regardless of what diet you choose, keep your protein intake high and establish a caloric deficit. So you've tried dieting, but you haven't lost the love handles. Here are a couple of reasons why this might have happened. One is not dieting for long enough. The lower back is one of the harder places to lose fat. You may see fat loss in your chest, arms, and even stomach before seeing a real loss in the love handles. There are no science-based hacks for spot reducing fat in your lower back. Being consistent with your diet and continuously tapping into your fat source is the only solution. 2 is that eating healthy isn't enough to lose weight. This paper, titled The Dieter's Paradox, explains how focusing on eating healthier might end up promoting calorie overconsumption, leading to weight gain rather than weight loss. If something is healthy for you, you should consume more of it, right? Not if you are trying to keep calories down. This is why focusing on the caloric value of food is essential for creating a calorie deficit. This brings us to the next point. 3 is inaccurately tracking calorie intake. Here's a study that found people grossly underestimated the number of calories in a fast food meal. The best way to ensure calorie intake accuracy is to weigh foods on a digital scale and reference multiple food databases. A good starting target for total calorie consumption on a fat loss diet is between 10 to 12 calories per pound of body weight. So if you are 220 pounds, your total calorie intake on your diet should be between 2,200 and 3,080. You may be thinking this is a pretty wide range. Where should I start? This brings us to the next topic. While many people take the approach of aggressive dieting to get the diet over with, we are going to recommend a more moderate, sustainable approach. Not only is this approach better in the long term, but it also has less adverse effects on your muscle and strength gains. The aim of this 2011 study by Garth and colleagues was to compare changes in body composition, strength, and power during a weekly body weight loss of 0.7% slow reduction versus 1.4% fast reduction. The researchers believed that the faster weight loss regimen would have more detrimental effects on lean body mass and strength-related performance. 24 athletes were randomized to slow reduction or fast reduction fat loss. They followed energy restricted diets promoting the predetermined weekly weight loss. All athletes included 4 resistance training sessions per week in their usual training regimen. Lean body mass increased in slow reduction by 2.1%, whereas it was unchanged in fast reduction with significant differences between groups. Data from this study suggests that athletes who want to gain lean body mass and increase 1 rep max strength during a weight loss period combined with strength training should aim for a weekly body weight loss of 0.7%. You can start at around 12 calories per pound of body weight and reduce it as necessary to lose approximately 0.7% of your total body weight per week. Number 3. Get better sleep. The last point is to get sufficient high-quality sleep. Being chronically underslept has a negative effect on your health, recovery, mood, appetite, muscle growth, testosterone levels, and fat loss. This 2011 study was done to determine whether sleep restriction attenuates the effect of a reduced calorie diet on excess body fat. They had 10 overweight subjects go through 14 days of moderate caloric restriction with 8.5 or 5.5 hour nighttime sleep opportunity. The differences in fat loss between the groups were significant considering it was only over 14 days. The underslept group even lost some fat-free mass, which is the mass we want to keep. The group that slept 5.5 hours decreased the fraction of weight lost as fat by 55% and increased the loss of fat-free body mass by 60%. The group that slept for 8.5 hours lost 1.4 kilograms versus 0.6 kilograms in the group that slept 5.5 hours. The lack of sleep was accompanied by increased hunger. The takeaway is to get at least 7 to 9 hours of high-quality sleep at night. Your muscle gains and fat loss depend on it. If you add more cardio and overall movement throughout your day, get laser focus on your diet, and get sufficient sleep, you're guaranteed to see that unwanted love handles will disappear. Did you find this video helpful? If so, click the like button below as it'll genuinely help out the channel. Make sure you subscribe for more videos and don't forget to turn on post notifications so you don't miss the next one.